Okay, let's get into it. We're going to look right past the crazy guitar solos and the stage dives for a minute.
Yeah,
Because if you've ever really listened to rock music, you know it's almost never just about noise or dancing.
not at all.
At its core, it's like a sonic sledgehammer, right? Aimed straight at the structures of power. It's this powerful microphone for social change.
Exactly. When rock first exploded, it didn't just get people's attention, it fired up a whole generation. The musicians, they realized they weren't just entertainers.
They were more like storytellers.
They were the storytellers for their generation, yeah. They could rap these incredibly serious, high-stakes messages about war or poverty or prejudice.
And hide them inside these, loud guitars and catchy rhythms.
Right, delivering these complex ideas way faster than any newspaper or textbook ever could.
And that's really what we're going to unpack today. We're decoding the biggest, most challenging themes rock artists have tackled, from global conflict all the way to personal freedom.
And we have to start with the big one.
The fight against war.
The opposition to military conflicts. That became one of the genre's absolute defining features, especially back in the 60s and 70s.
And it wasn't just some abstract idea of peace, was it?
No, it was much more personal. It was a really gut-level rejection of the military draft.
I think that's so key. It made the whole issue immediate. The lyrics were describing the fear and the confusion.
And the sadness.
The genuine sadness of young people being pulled out of their lives and sent thousands of miles away to a war they just didn't get.
Or that they flat out disagreed with. It was this deep generational anxiety turned into an anthem.
And the critique went even deeper than just stop the fighting.
Oh, for sure. They demanded peaceful solutions, yes, but they were also doing the math. The songs highlighted the huge loss of life, of course.
But also the money.
Also the massive financial costs that war puts on a country, taking money away from things people actually need at home.
It really turned a political stance into a shared experience. I mean, you couldn't ignore the message when a whole stadium was singing for peace.
Exactly. Rock gave people the emotional language for that pushback. The sound itself, going from folk protest to an angry electric guitar, it perfectly matched that rising frustration.
Okay, so from battles overseas to the ones happening at home, rock played a huge, huge role in the fight for civil rights.
An absolutely essential role. And it's important to see how deep it went. When rock tackled civil rights, it wasn't just for broad legal equality.
It was about day-to-day life.
It was about the daily reality of discrimination, housing, voting rights, and especially police brutality.
And the power was in the storytelling.
That's it. Musicians would highlight these specific, unfair things happening to people just because of their race or background. By putting those stories into a song, they built empathy.
So it's not just an issue anymore, it's a person's struggle. You can't just dismiss it.
Precisely. And the concerts themselves, they became these powerful, unifying spaces.
Because the music itself was seen as a little rebellious.
Right. So they were one of the few places where people from totally different backgrounds could come together and stand for freedom and equality. The music turned personal anger into collective action.
It was a demand for dignity, for respect. And that idea, it connects directly to our next big theme, because it wasn't just about the color of your skin.
It was often about how much money you had.
Exactly. Which brings us to rock's critique of economic inequality and poverty.
Rock has always been the voice of the underdog. The artists focused so much on the struggles of the working class, the factory workers, the miners, the farmers.
The people who were working the hardest but still couldn't get ahead.
Yeah. And the criticism here is really specific. It's not just a sad song about being poor. It's a critique of the whole system, where a tiny few hold most of the wealth.
And you really hear that anger come through in, say, British punk in the late 70s, bands like The Clash.
That raw, aggressive sound was perfect for expressing that frustration with financial insecurity. The distortion, the sheer volume, it was a sound of solidarity.
It told you your anger was valid.
It did. And the songs didn't just complain. They asked for specific things.
Better wages.
Better wages, safer working conditions, the right to unionize. It shows a real understanding of how things work.
Which raises the next logical question. If the system is rigged, what do you do?
And that leads us straight to rock's classic theme, challenging traditional authority. This is the rebellion that speaks directly to every single listener.
And it's more than just teenage angst.
Oh, much more. It's about questioning strict rules and hierarchies, whether that's a demanding boss, a rigid school, or any institution that tells you what to think.
So rock celebrates independence, the courage to be yourself.
It's the ultimate permission to be a nonconformist, The music was loud, it was jarring, and it taught listeners that it was okay, in fact necessary, to push back against ideas that felt unfair. It's all about personal liberty.
And that message about thinking for yourself, it applies so directly to school. So many artists took on education and youth freedom.
We see that so clearly in the 70s and 80s. Artists were criticizing what felt like a factory model of schooling.
The whole another brick in the wall idea.
That's the perfect example. The lyrics tap into that feeling that big impersonal schools care more about conformity than, creativity or critical thinking.
It's that pressure cooker feeling, the stress over grades, being constantly judged. Rock music just gave an outlet for all that frustration.
It was a reminder that your questions, your ideas, they matter more than just memorizing a textbook. It's a call for an education that opens your mind, not one that closes it.
Okay, so let's shift from the schoolhouse to the entire planet. Rock artists have become huge champions for environmental protection.
Absolutely. They use their music as a serious warning. Songwriters will paint these beautiful pictures of nature forests, oceans.
Only to smash that image with something like smog or an oil spill. It's a really powerful contrast.
And the blame is usually pointed right at the top, at large corporations that put profits ahead of the planet's health. The lyrics frame this destruction as a moral failure, not just some accident.
And they put their money where their mouth is, too. Organizing huge charity concerts.
Some of the biggest in history. All to raise money and awareness for conservation, for climate change. It's a fundamental reminder that we humans have a responsibility to take care of the Earth.
And speaking of demanding respect and protection, let's talk about women's rights and empowerment. Rock has been a really important and very loud platform for that.
This is such a crucial evolution for the genre, especially since it was so male-dominated for so long.
For sure.
Female artists used rock to carve out a space for their own perspectives. The volume and the aggression of the music really mirrored the strength it takes to challenge the status quo.
And the lyrics don't hold back. They attack gender stereotypes, they demand equal treatment, and they focus so much on independence and the right to make your own choices.
The music just radiates resilience. Whether it's about sexism in the industry or recovering from abuse, it provided this powerful, cathartic way to process struggle and project strength. They're anthems of self-determination.
Okay, we have to talk about the modern world. Rock has been surprisingly critical of technology and media, and this started way before the internet.
That's a great point. Today we worry about our phones, but the original critique was about television and advertising back in the 50s and 60s.
This worry that we were getting too distracted by screens, losing touch with what's real.
Exactly. The lyrics call out how media and advertisers are always trying to manipulate how we feel or what we buy.
Creating needs we didn't even know we had.
And that concern has only gotten sharper. The modern critique is about surveillance, about our loss of privacy. The music is a wake-up call. Question your information and value real human connection over some perfect digital life.
As the music spread around the world, artists also started to explore this tension between globalization and cultural identity.
What's really interesting there is the fear of cultural sameness, this idea that one commercial culture, usually American, might erase local traditions and sounds.
So musicians pushed back with their art.
Totally. You see artists celebrating their own country's unique sounds, using traditional instruments, singing in different languages. They're rejecting the idea that only one style should dominate.
It becomes a bridge between cultures.
It does. It shows listeners that people all over the world share the same basic hopes and fears, but it also promotes preserving that amazing diversity.
And finally, let's get to a theme that's become incredibly important recently, and maybe the most personal for listeners: mental health awareness.
This reflects a huge shift in society, just being more open. Songwriters are sharing these deeply honest, vulnerable stories about sadness, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed.
And that honesty, it reduces the shame.
It completely reduces the shame and isolation people feel. And that's where the sound helps the message. The sheer intensity of rock, it allows for this raw, cathartic release of internal pain.
It's a safe space to feel your own chaos.
Right. And it totally reframes vulnerability. When you see these artists who you think of as untouchable sharing their own struggles, it teaches you that asking for help isn't weakness.
It's a sign of incredible strength.
It starts conversations we absolutely need to be having about taking care of our minds.
So if we zoom out for the final message here, even though rock tackles these huge, dark problems, war, poverty, discrimination, the final takeaway is almost always one of hope.
Hope and collective action. That's the engine. The music argues that real change happens when people stand together.
Not because of one hero.
No, it's about community. It's about the power of unity, no matter how small you start.
You can even hear it in the way the songs are built. Those giant repetitive choruses are made for thousands of people to sing together.
It creates that undeniable feeling of shared purpose.
So walk music is like a mirror reflecting the world's problems.
A mirror, and also a tool to inspire us to get up and fix them. It reminds you that even when you're up against these massive, unfair systems, every single person has the power to be part of a bigger movement.
So next time you put on a song that really gets your blood pumping, ask yourself this. What's the big message the musician is trying to share with you?
See you next